don't know how this is going to turn out.
That's good.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's
Getting a
fine
little
now.
bit of echo. We'll see what happens when I move around a little bit. So I remember the first time I tried to order a bagel in New York City. A bagel in New York City, it went something like this. I went into the Chelsea Market in Chelsea in New York, and I walked up to the counter after standing in line for a long time, and the guy behind the counter said, "What do you want?" I said, "Okay, I want a bagel." So he ran off to go and get the bagel. And then he came back with the bagel, and I said, "And I think I want some cream cheese on that." And he looked at me with this look of disgust on his face that I had not just gotten to everything that I needed to get to when I ordered in the first place. So he said, "You need to go to the back of the line until you figure out what you want." Fair enough. I was 3 weeks out of Birmingham, Alabama, in the middle of Manhattan, and evidently I had not learned in all of my years up to then how to order a bagel. But the truth was that I knew how to order a bagel, I just didn't know how to order a bagel in New York City. Which is basically, don't waste anyone's time with chit-chat. Know what you want when you get to the counter, order it, and then move on. Get on with your life, we're getting on with our life, people. And so after I'd been in New York for about 3 years, I was going back to the South to travel to visit my family in Birmingham, had flown into the airport in Atlanta, and was going to eat, and went into a restaurant, probably an Applebee's or something, and I walked up to the hostess and I said, "I need a table for 4, non-smoking, please." She said, "Well, hi there. How are you today? Welcome to Applebee's." And she was very nice and very polite, but it wasn't until that moment that I realized how much I had actually changed living in New York, right? I've lost all of that time for chit-chat and everything else. Let's just move on, you know? I need a table, you need to give me a table, let's sit down, let's eat, let's get this going. And I've said that I never really understood what it meant to grow up in the South until I lived in the North. Until I lived away from home for some period of time, I had no idea who I was. And it's like that when we leave home. When we go away from what we've known our whole life, when we go somewhere else for the first time, we all of a sudden start coming up in these little conflicts, right? We come up with conflicts with people, with the time it takes to get somewhere, with maybe all kinds of daily complications and conflicts in our life. And every day we're trying to figure it out. Okay, when I get to the counter to order a bagel, I need to do that fast. And so today in the gospel, we have a pretty angry and upset Jesus. I mean, Jesus he's fed up. He's kind of done with everybody, it sounds like. He's like, "Listen, you know how to tell the weather, but you don't know how to look around and just see what's going on in the world." And this, very family values kind of Jesus today, telling us all that we're going to be in conflict with our families, that 3 are going to be divided against 2, and 2 are going to be divided against 3, and fathers and sons, and mothers and fathers, and you name it. We're all going to be in some type of conflict. And I think the same thing that was happening to me when I went to New York, or that happens to any of us when we go away from home, is what happens to us when we decide that we are going to be Christians. When we decide that we're going to be baptized and follow Jesus and become disciples, we are being asked to look at the world in a radically different way than we may have ever seen it before. And we all know that the times we've tried to do that, we come up and we find conflict. We find conflict with our families. We find conflict with our communities. We find conflict with people that we don't even know because we view the world in a different way. And when they act in a way that is out of step with who our spirit tells us we are called to be as followers of Jesus, it makes it harder and harder and harder to just go along and get along and find peace at the expense of justice. But that's what a majority of people in the world do. We would rather have a comfortable conversation and be able to just sit down and all get along rather than actually speaking out and taking concrete actions that lead to justice. It's hard. And Jesus knew it was going to be hard. He knew. He's not stating like prophetically everybody's going to be in conflict with everybody. What Jesus is saying is if you decide to follow me, which is a choice, right? Nobody has to do this. Nobody has to be here. Nobody has to show up on any particular Sunday. Nobody has to be a Christian. But if you decide that that's what you want to do, you're following a radical revolutionary who is doing something very different in the world than has been done before. We're not following Jesus meek and mild, just so we can all pat ourselves in the back and tell ourselves what good people we are on Sunday, and then just go about our business on Monday morning. Sunday mornings are the easiest day of the week to be a Christian. I promise you, easiest day of the week. We come here, we sing hymns, it's nice, we hug each other, we talk, we're nice to each other, hopefully. Nice to each other. And then on Monday morning, we go back to the life where we might be considered somebody who is out of step with what other people are expecting from the world. Sometimes when you stand up and you say things like, hey, I don't think kids should be in concentration camps, people around you might go, hey, everybody, let's just calm down. Well, how are we going to be friends if you're talking like that? How are we going to be friends and just go have dinner together if we keep up all of this political talk all the time? I can tell you, anytime I say something like that, it doesn't come from politics. It comes from my belief that Jesus would not want children in concentration camps. That Jesus would not want to see the world that we're living in, and we're called out from Jesus as to be different people. Right? That's who we're called to be. And that is going to lead to conflict. And I think what Jesus is saying, he's like, I didn't come to bring peace, Jesus says. I came to bring conflict. I think Jesus is looking for a world of justice. And he knows that to get to a world of justice and to a true peace that is not a false peace, that is a deep peace where all people are created and loved equally by God and by one another, to get to that peace, it's going to mean going through some things. To struggle and fight for justice is never easy. On each Sunday that we're here this month, we're reading prayers of the people that are from the hymn, Lift Every Voice and Sing. We'll be singing it at the end of the service today as well. Read those words. Read the words of that hymn and know that that was a poem that was written and performed by children for Abraham Lincoln. It was and is considered the black national anthem of our country. And when you talk about walking through the blood of the slaughtered, I don't think that's going to be something that you want to bring up with, everybody, let's just all get along and talk about the blood of the slaughtered that got us here, right? That might bring you some conflict in your life. But here's what I know from going through that conflict. Here's what you know when you've taken steps to struggle and fight for justice, as I know so many of you have. There is a deeper peace on the other side of it than there is having never gone through it. And God is telling us, you go through it, and I will go with you. I will walk with you. You're not going to be alone. Look in the mirror. See who you are. See how you have perpetuated injustice in your own life, and then come with me into the deep peace that is God's love, surrounded by justice, equity, and truth. It's not an easy call. It will bring us into conflict with other people. But hopefully, in God's time and in God's economy, all people can come together under that one love that is God through Jesus Christ. That is my hope. That is my prayer, not just today, but every day.
Amen.